Hi, my name is Jessi Frey and this is my crowdfunding campaign for my next album. It's called Warrior, and the goal of this campaign is to raise some funds to make some awesome physical records, you know, CDs and vinyl and all that good stuff. Please join me. I released my first solo album in 2019. It was called Villainous and it was exploring more of a dark synth sound. Obviously my previous band Velcro was an industrial metal, kind of new metal band, so my background is in metal. For Villainous I really wanted to go deep in that synth pop sound. After Villainous we had a reunion gig with Velcro where we played to a sold out venue in Finland to 900 people, getting everyone together to celebrate what Velcro was, and it really made me fall in love with that rock sound again. That was really the starting point when I started to write the songs for this next album. I really wanted to go back to my roots, the music that had really lit the fire inside of me back in the day when I first started making music, and it was old school industrial music. Good stuff like Rammstein, KMFDM, Nine Inch Nails. When I was writing Villainous, I also discovered the synthwave scene, and I still think that synthwave is probably one of the most exciting underground movements that has happened in a very long time in music. It's a really atmospheric music, I really like it, and there's still a lot of influence from synthwave that I've incorporated in my music. I don't think I'm really a synthwave artist, but I definitely borrow from it. You could say that my music is industrial cyberpunk. The album's called Warrior. When I started to look at all the songs that I'd written for the album, there really seemed to be this theme of fighting and feistiness. I still have a lot of the themes of the future, eco-anxiety, hopelessness, but I also feel that if you don't have hope and if you really give in to the darkness, then there's nowhere to go really. Underneath it all, I still feel that there has to be hope and that we have to fight for the things that we believe in, we have to fight for our future, and we are the people who create our own future and our own reality. So that's really what that theme of the album is, and that's where that name came from. On Villainous I worked on my own, and everything you hear on the album is more or less played by me. For this album I teamed up with an artist called The Fair Attempts.
Hi, it's Friendly Timo. I had a pleasure to work together with Jessi to bring about her album Warrior. I'm really glad that I did, and I think it turned out well.
Our collaboration started at the tail end of Villainous. He really enjoyed the album and approached me and said he would want to do some remixes for me. So he did a remix for Dark Heart, which I really loved. It really sort of brought that sort of industrial sound to the song, and I think he's a really awesome producer. He can really craft great sound. Then I asked him to remix a few more songs because I wanted to start kind of feeling how the songs would turn out if you put a bit of guitar in there, and he just kept doing a good job. And then I was like, well, you know, I've got this new song, would you mind kind of having a little go at that?
Jessi approached me with the Future Hackers. We started to work with that, and when I got the song I just went a little bit bananas with it. It turned out great and Jessi liked it, and
so it just tumbled on, and he's brought so much depth to the sound, really that heaviness.
Drum programming, the guitar and the bass recording, full orchestral compositions and stuff like that. Some synths there and there, and of course I mixed the whole thing.
You know, there were a couple of songs that I was really stuck with, and then he just kind of offered a new angle, just did something a little bit different to it, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's how this song needs to go. So he really got me over the hump with some of the songs, and really brought that sound together and really made it.
We ended up going a lot about back and forth. I first worked on the song, let Jessi hear it or whatnot. She might write me a list about things that she paid attention to. Those aspects led to me also kind of developing as a producer myself, taking note on where Jessi is honing on and why. I think it was very valuable experience for me in everything that I do, not just the producing aspect, but mixing and how I go about making songs. I really enjoyed working together with Jessi on this album, making it as awesome as it is. And I also hope that you enjoy our work. We put a lot of effort on that for sure.
Was the first track that I wrote for this new album. I started writing the lyrics way before coronavirus actually hit. I was feeling quite anxious about, I don't know, the future, and it really is that song about hope and believing that we can change things. Maybe inspired by like Greta Thunberg. There are people who fight, who have that fire in their eyes, and it gives me hope and it gives me drive as well. You know, whether it was about changing the future of the planet, but even on a micro level to changing the path that we take in our lives. You know, I think we all need people who kind of can light that fire inside of us as well. Was a song that I initially wrote in the Villainous sessions, but I didn't manage to get it finished, and that was fine. It kind of needed to simmer a little bit, and it was definitely one of those songs that I was just writing and writing and writing. I couldn't really kind of get to that really sort of focal point with it, and then I sent it to TFA, who came up with that half beat part of the chorus, and I was like, yeah, that's it, and then it all kind of fitted into place and actually then got completed quite quickly. The lyrics of 1,000 Cut are about being an outsider. I guess I've always felt that I've never really belonged into a very specific group of people, or I've always been, you know, one of those people who is interested in like a whole range of things and who does all kinds of things. So I always kind of feel that I'm not like 100% part of a specific scene or a genre or profession or anything that you could label. And I also feel that to really be a part of that, you really need to believe in it. And that's really what the lyrics are about, you know. It would feel really comforting to know that you belong somewhere, and at the same time, when you devote yourself to something, then you will also fly that flag. And I can't do that. I don't want to do that. When life falls apart, crash and burn, I will falter and I will crawl, come back stronger, run, Antifragile. Antifragile is one of my favorite songs on the album. And musically, it's just all about that bass line, that groove. You know, towards the end, it just kind of descends into this massive chaos. So yeah, I just love it. It's a simple, great song with a great groove.
Of course, I find all of these songs in the album very, very good, and I'm happy with them. But there are a couple that really like stands out as exceptional for me, like namely Antifragile.
There's this book called Antifragile, and I really like the concept. I have, full disclosure, I haven't read it. Seems actually like a terribly boring book. The idea is that there are things that are fragile, so they break easy. Then there are things that are robust, which means that they can resist for much longer until they break. And then there are things that are anti-fragile, and that means that the more hardship they face, the better they get. So actually, instead of being weakened by hardship, it just actually improves them. I really like this idea. I thought it was really cool. I started writing the lyrics and I felt too clever. So in the end, the lyrics are a pretty straightforward story about failure, but actually always bouncing back, always learning from those bad experiences and being better for it.
It wasn't just like it was just a song, you know, like, but it had a certain almost statement to it, and it just resonated with me. And I think it will resonate with a lot of people. The whole energy in that song, that kind of a daring and a bold song too.
We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is life beyond the Thunderdome. We Don't Need Another Hero is a cover song of Tina Turner from the 80s. It was a soundtrack from a movie called Mad Max. I had this idea of making a version of it. I've had it for a while now. I like the movie. I like Tina Turner in her fantastic Thunderdome outfit, and the song itself, I just always really loved it. And I always heard it as this much more emotional, softer song, which could be much cooler than that cheesy 80s sort of umpa version that the original is. You know, lyrically kind of, or maybe that whole Mad Max and that post-apocalyptic feel of the movie and the lyrics really tied in with my thought about the bigger message of, or the bigger concept of what Warrior is. And so yeah, I had to do We Don't Need Another Hero, and I think it turned out great.
Boom! Että säkähtänyt. This is MC Raakape from Turmion Kätilät. I have great news. Me and Jessi are singing again together. Well, the last time was about 15 years ago, so you need to hear that. So, stay tuned, and by the way, Bloodspot is king.
Bloodspot is another cover song on this album as well. The original is by KMFDM and Tim Scherld. It was just a song that I was absolutely listening on heavy rotation when I was writing this album. It was on my playlist. Listened to it every morning, and it always kind of got me on that right mood. I got in touch with Raakape of Turmion Kätilöt, and I asked him if he would like to duet with me on this track, and he said immediately yes. I love it. It rocks. It's kind of the heaviest track on the album. Yeah, and I mean, lyrically it's Bloodspot. I really kind of envisioned this cage fight. And then when I went off to do the photo shoot, the mask and the hair and that outfit, that's Bloodspot.
Another really exceptional song was this cover song from Bloodsport. It's rocking. That's one song that is quite near and dear to my heart.
Hijacked is a song about lockdown, I think. Most important, is about being kind of stuck in a single place, or stuck in a rut, stuck in a place in your life. We tried putting guitars on the song and make it a little bit heavier, and it just didn't work at all. The strings, of course, are the hook of the song, and I think there's almost like something a bit Bond-esque about those strings and some of the chords. But I think that kind of gives that claustrophobic, mesmerized, paralyzed feel to that song. So that's Hooked, Hacked, Hijacked. Evolving on and on. There's never going back. Never Going Back was the third song I wrote for this album, and it came really quickly. Initially I was kind of contemplating the lyrics for quite a long time, but the melody and the basics of the song came really quickly, and I really liked that song. Again, there was never really any plans of putting any guitars or making it any heavier than it is. It's very much a pure electronic song. Lyrically, I kind of had to go to space with this one. I don't know, I think writing about the future, writing about the space is always a bit cheesy. There was this feeling about the music which to me was quite futuristic, you know, cyber cities, cyberpunk, space travel, and this idea of going forward, how technology and humanity just come together, that people can be fixed, that bodies can be fixed forever. You're never going to be broken, you're never going to grow old, you're never going to have those weaknesses that the human body has, because you can just keep replacing those bits that break down. But at the same time, the thing that probably does not keep up is your mind. And even though we as people feel that perhaps this is not the direction and the development that we want to really see in the world, that we don't really want to see happening, there is no going back to this idyllic past when we were just one with nature.
Faith is everything. Hope is everything. Love is everything. Is everything. Force is everything. Seize is everything. Win is everything. Kill is everything.
Deepfake is the last song on the album. It's one of the heaviest songs on the album, definitely rocks. This is much more kind of physical, visceral, let's rock type of song, and I really wanted it to be the closing song on the album so that it really ends the album on a high energy, kind of a good heavy feeling. Lyrically, it's a song about, well, actually I wrote it quite soon after the Capitol Hill incident, the raid. I don't know, I actually don't really want to talk too much about what the lyrics are about. I think this is actually one of those songs where I invite you to listen to it and think about what that song means to you.
Come on, bring it! Bring it on! Bring it on!
I released Villainous 100% indie, and I'm also releasing Warrior 100% indie. Velcro was signed to Virgin EMI Records, so a major label, and then we started our own little label, and little by little I've been just going more and more indie because I really love working that way. I really love to have like the full ownership of everything that I do. I'm a total control freak when it comes to, you know, creative decisions, the art that I can create, the people I can work with. I just love the fact that I can do things really quickly, and I also love the fact that I can have such a direct relationship with my audience. You guys have really made this album possible by actually going and buying my records and my merchandise. So hopefully you really like Warrior as well and want to come and support this campaign and support this record and the making of this record by taking part in this crowdfunding campaign.